Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are breaking down the critical challenges and, the massive opportunities that are facing dental practices right now.
Let's start with a number that should really get any practice owner's attention: 71%. According to 2025 data, this is the average chunk of a practice's collections that gets eaten up by overhead. I mean, think about that for a second. That's nearly 3/4 of your revenue, just gone, before you see a single dollar of profit. Wow.
But here's the wild part. While costs are squeezing everyone, the opportunity has literally never been bigger. Just look at the global orthodontics market alone. It's projected to explode to over $38 billion by 2034. So there's this enormous wave of growth coming, but you have to be financially healthy enough to actually ride it. And that, right there, is the core question for today's explainer. In this high-stakes world, how do you navigate it all to build a practice that's not just surviving, but actually growing and resilient? All right, let's dive in. So, first up is that relentless battle against rising costs. And winning it, that requires a big shift in thinking. You got to go from just managing expenses day to day to building a really proactive, long-term financial strategy. And we're not just talking about inflation or the price of supplies going up. It's about the money that's just leaking out of the system. Think of it like a bunch of tiny leaks. Inefficiencies in coding, forgotten subscriptions, not getting the best price on things, and all those little drips add up to a major flood. In fact, get this. One analysis from 2025 found that the average opportunity loss for a practice was over $200,000 a year. But here's the most stunning part. That entire amount was considered recoupable. Not through some massive, painful overhaul, but through small, smart, incremental changes.
The good news is, this isn't about making drastic cuts or, sacrificing patient care. Not at all. The solutions are really tactical, they're actionable, and they're available to any practice that's ready to just get a little more systematic in their approach.
See, the solution isn't some magic bullet. It's a whole system of small, smart plays. On the cost side, it means things like joining buying groups and auditing your subscriptions. And on the revenue side, it's making sure your billing is totally dialed in and that your fees are actually keeping pace with inflation. Every single one of these steps chips away at that 71% overhead figure. But plugging those financial leaks, that's only half the battle. To really, truly thrive, practices have to boost their efficiency. And that is where our second big game changer comes in: technology. We're talking about tech that transforms your operations from the inside out. This staffing crisis isn't just about finding people to fill positions. It's about the deep financial drain it puts on your most valuable team members. Because when you're short-staffed, everyone pitches in, but that comes at a huge hidden cost.
For an average practice, that inefficiency adds up to nearly $60,000 a year. That's the cost of your highly paid dentists and hygienists being pulled into admin tasks, away from the revenue-generating patient care they're actually trained for. This isn't just inefficient, it is a direct path to burnout.
So the solution? It lies in AI and digital workflows. And no, this is not science fiction. This is happening right now. In orthodontics, for example, the entire model is shifting. We're moving from a manual and reactive process to one that's integrated, continuous, and even predictive.
And the real core of this whole shift is something called adaptive AI. Now, this goes way beyond just the simple digital treatment plan you set up once. This is a system that actually learns and adjusts in real time based on how the patient is progressing. It turns a static plan into a dynamic, self-optimizing process. Pretty cool, right?
So the practical impact here is a total transformation of your office environment. Tools like remote monitoring don't just save patients a trip to your office. They free up your team from those repetitive check-ins, letting them focus on high-value patient care, which directly tackles that burnout and inefficiency problem we were just talking about.
But look, technology doesn't just improve efficiency behind the scenes. It's also completely reshaping how practices attract and keep patients, in what's become a really, really competitive market.
Let's be real. The modern patient's journey starts online. 71% of patients are researching potential dentists on the web before they even think about picking up the phone. Your digital front door is now, by far, your most important one.
And what are they looking for when they're online? Social proof. A massive 81% of them place a huge amount of trust in those online reviews when they're making their choice. This has become the new word of mouth, and it is incredibly powerful. And yet, and this is a big and yet,
Only 26% of dental practices currently offer online booking. Just think about that for a second. We live in a world where you can book a flight, a dinner reservation, or a car with just a few taps on your phone, but the vast majority of dental practices are still forcing a friction-filled phone call. That is a huge gap between what patients expect and what's being delivered.
This is where the strategy really becomes proactive. See, it's not just about getting reviews, it's about engaging with them. Practices that use AI to respond to every single review see a dramatic lift in their online visibility. They're essentially turning patient feedback from a passive rating into an active, powerful growth engine.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Patients today are consumers, plain and simple, and they choose healthcare providers the same way they choose other major brands. The practices that are going to win are the ones that understand this and start acting like a trusted consumer brand.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you? How do you put all these different pieces together? Let's boil it all down into a clear, actionable playbook for 2026.
It really comes down to these 4 core pillars. It starts with financial flexibility, making it easy for patients to say yes. It requires systematic marketing where everything works together as one cohesive engine. It demands a seamless patient experience that removes all that friction. And, holding it all together is an intentional culture that makes your practice a place where the best people actually want to work.
And that brings us to our final thought. The single most important question you can ask yourself heading into 2026 might just be this one. Is your practice still operating only as a healthcare provider, or has it evolved to become a consumer brand? Because in today's market, your success may depend entirely on embracing that new identity, one that puts the patient's consumer experience right at the heart of everything you do.